There are places in America where entire towns have simply been left behind. Streets that once carried thousands of people now lead to empty buildings. Hotels that welcome travelers have been sitting abandoned for decades. Old mining towns still stand with furniture inside, as if everyone packed up and never came back. But not all of these places were abandoned because the money ran out. In Pennsylvania, one town was nearly wiped off the map because a fire started underneath it, and more than 60 years later, that fire is still burning. From a forgotten town along Route 66 to a massive mining settlement hidden in the Alaskan wilderness, here are 5 abandoned cities in America you won't believe still exist. Starting with a California gold rush town that was once known as one of the most dangerous places in the Wild West. Number 5 is Bodie, California. Deep in the hills of Eastern California sits one of America's most famous ghost towns, Bodie. Looking at it today, with its empty wooden buildings and silent streets, it is hard to imagine that this place was once a booming gold mining town filled with thousands of people. Bodie's story began after gold was discovered in the area in 1859. At first, growth was slow, but everything changed when a rich source of gold was found nearby in the 1870s. Suddenly, people rushed to Bodie hoping to make their fortune. Miners arrived looking for gold, while business owners came to make money from the growing population. At its peak, Bodie had thousands of residents and hundreds of buildings. There were hotels, stores, churches, a school, banks, and dozens of saloons. For a town in such a remote location, Bodie was incredibly active. But Bodie was not exactly a peaceful place to live. Like many mining towns of the Wild West, it gained a reputation for being rough and dangerous. Saloons were packed with miners, gambling was common, and fights sometimes turned deadly. People came to Bodie because they dreamed of getting rich, but life there could be difficult. Winters were extremely cold, the town was isolated, and mining itself was dangerous work. Still, as long as the gold kept coming, people stayed. But eventually, the mines became less profitable. As mining activity declined, jobs disappeared and families began moving away. Fires also destroyed large sections of the town, including a major fire in 1932 that wiped out many buildings. Slowly, the once busy streets became quiet. Today, around 200 structures remain in Bodie, making it one of the best preserved ghost towns in the United States. What makes the place especially interesting is that many buildings have been kept in a state of arrested decay. They are protected from completely falling apart, but they are not restored to look new. Inside some buildings, you can still see furniture and objects that appear to have been left behind long ago. Walking through Bodie feels less like visiting a museum and more like stepping into a town where time suddenly stopped. It is now a California State Historic Park, so visitors can explore this incredible piece of the Old West. But when the crowds leave and the wind moves through those empty streets, it is easy to imagine just how lonely Bodie must feel after dark. And while Bodie was abandoned slowly as its gold disappeared, the next place on our list faced something far more dangerous. The threat was not in the mountains or the weather. It was burning directly beneath people's homes. Number 4 is Centralia, Pennsylvania. Centralia, Pennsylvania might have one of the most disturbing stories of any nearly abandoned town in America. Unlike Bodie, Centralia did not become famous because of gold. It was a coal mining community where generations of families lived and worked. For many years, it looked like a normal small American town. There were houses, businesses, churches, and streets filled with everyday life. Then, in 1962, something happened that would change Centralia forever. A fire began in or near an old mine system beneath the town. The exact story of how it started has been debated over the years, but the result is not in doubt. The fire reached underground coal and began spreading through old mine tunnels and coal deposits. The terrifying part was that the fire could not simply be put out with a few fire trucks. It was deep underground, moving through a huge network beneath the surface. As the years passed, dangerous gases became a concern, and the ground itself became unstable in some areas. One frightening event happened in 1981, when a young boy reportedly fell into a sudden hole that opened in the ground. He survived after being pulled to safety, But the incident drew national attention to the danger beneath Centralia. Imagine living in a town where you know a fire is burning somewhere under your feet, but you cannot see exactly where it is or where it might spread next. Eventually, the government began helping residents move away. Homes were purchased, families relocated, and many buildings were demolished. The population, which had once numbered more than 1,000 people, dropped until only a handful of residents remained. Today, Centralia looks less like a traditional ghost town and more like a place that has been erased. Many streets still exist, but the homes that once stood beside them are gone. Trees and grass have taken over areas where neighborhoods once existed. For years, one of Centralia's most famous attractions was an abandoned section of highway known as the Graffiti Highway. Visitors covered the pavement with colorful messages and artwork, but the property was later closed to the public and much of the road was covered with dirt. The underground mine fire, however, is still believed to be burning and could continue for many years. That is what makes Centralia so unusual. In most abandoned towns, the danger that caused people to leave is part of the past. In Centralia, the problem beneath the ground never truly went away. Number 3 is Glenrio, Texas and New Mexico. Sitting directly on the border between Texas and New Mexico, Glenrio is a forgotten reminder of America's golden age of road travel. The town became an important stopping point along Route 66, the legendary highway that carried travelers across much of the United States. During the middle of the 20th century, Route 66 was more than just a road. It represented adventure and freedom. Families packed their cars for long vacations, travelers crossed the country looking for new opportunities, and small businesses appeared along the highway to serve them. Glenrio was one of those communities that depended on the endless stream of cars passing through. At its busiest, Glenrio offered travelers the things they needed during a long journey. There were gas stations where drivers could fill their tanks, cafes where families could stop for a meal, and motels where tired travelers could spend the night. Its unusual location on the state line even created some interesting situations. Businesses operated on both sides of the border, and because Texas and New Mexico had different laws and taxes, where a business stood could actually matter. For travelers, however, Glenrio was simply another welcome stop on the long journey across Route 66. Then came Interstate 40. As America's modern interstate system expanded, the new highway bypassed Glenrio. Almost overnight, the traffic that had kept the community alive disappeared. Drivers who once had to pass directly through town could now speed past it without ever seeing its businesses. And when the cars stopped coming, the money stopped coming too. Gas stations closed, cafes lost their customers, and motels became empty. Glenrio did not need a dramatic disaster to become a ghost town. It simply became unnecessary. Today, abandoned buildings still stand along the old Route 66. Empty gas stations and other roadside structures remain under the huge open sky, slowly aging beside a road that once carried countless travelers. There is something especially sad about Glenrio because its entire story is connected to movement. This was a place built for people who were going somewhere else. For years, travelers kept it alive, but the moment they found a faster route, Glenrio was left behind. Number 2 is Cairo, Illinois. Located at the southern tip of Illinois, where the Mississippi and Ohio rivers meet, Cairo is one of America's most fascinating examples of a city that rose with big dreams and then suffered a dramatic decline. The city's location seemed almost perfect. With 2 major rivers meeting nearby, Cairo became an important transportation and trading center during the 1800s. Riverboats moved people and goods through the region, and the city grew as businesses, hotels, shops, and large homes appeared along its streets. At one point, Cairo had more than 15,000 residents, and many believed its position on the rivers would guarantee a successful future. But that future never arrived in the way people expected. As transportation changed, Cairo began losing some of the importance that had helped it grow. Railroads and, later, highways changed how people and goods moved across the country, reducing the city's dependence on river traffic. But economic problems were only part of Cairo's decline. The city also suffered from deep racial tensions and violence, especially during the 20th century. During the civil rights era, protests, boycotts, and serious conflict divided the community. Many businesses closed, jobs disappeared, and residents began moving away. As the population continued to fall, more homes and commercial buildings were left empty. Today, Cairo is not completely abandoned. People still live there, but its population is only a small fraction of what it once was. Walking through parts of the city, you can find empty lots and abandoned buildings that hint at a much busier past. Number 1 is Pitcher, Oklahoma. Pitcher has one of the saddest stories on this list because the town was abandoned due to environmental disaster. The town was founded after huge deposits of lead and zinc were discovered in northeastern Oklahoma in the early 1900s. Mining brought thousands of workers, and by the 1920s Pitcher had become one of the world's largest producers of lead and zinc. During World War I and World War II, the mines supplied metals that were important for the American military. But mining left behind enormous mountains of waste rock called chat piles. These giant gray hills surrounded the town. For years, people, including children, played on them without knowing they contained dangerous heavy metals. As mining ended, scientists discovered that the soil, water, and air around Pitcher were heavily contaminated with lead, which can cause serious health problems, especially in children. The U.S. government eventually declared Pitcher part of one of the country's largest environmental cleanup sites. Then another disaster struck. In 2008, a powerful tornado tore through Pitcher, destroying many homes and causing several deaths. After years of pollution problems, the tornado became the final blow. The government offered buyouts to residents, and almost everyone left. Schools closed, businesses disappeared, and most buildings were demolished. Today, only a few structures remain. The giant chat piles still dominate the landscape, making Pitcher one of America's best-known modern ghost towns. From the gold rush streets of Bodie to the underground fires still burning beneath Centralia, the forgotten Route 66 town of Glenrio, the once thriving river city of Cairo, and the toxic mining legacy that emptied Pitcher, each of these places has a different story. But they all remind us of the same thing: no city lasts forever. A place can be full of life one day, and just a few decades later, it can become nothing more than empty streets, crumbling buildings, and memories. So, which of these abandoned places would you want to explore? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoy videos about abandoned places, forgotten history, and mysterious locations, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.